All right, Steeler fans, time for the mailbag segment, second half of the show every single Wednesday on the Let's Ride podcast. I hope you all are enjoying everything, and we're still going to do this no matter what happens on Saturday. The mailbag is a weekly staple on the podcast. So let's hunker down and let's get the job done. Let's start with Jeff Coons. Greetings from Not Mad Canada. Jeff, I know you aren't a fire Tomlin guy. However, is a time when a change for the sake of change healthy for a football team? Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher knew when it was time to exit. Does a potential new coach refresh the message? He continues, I write this message without regard to the outcome on Saturday. The playoff game is the focus. That doesn't hide the fact that massive roster fluctuations are on the horizon. Would the team be better served having a new coach work with Omar to build a new Steelers standard? I think it depends on whether you or they, or the front office and the ownership, believe that Mike Tomlin is capable of building that roster. And I think there's definitely plenty of reason for hesitation in that regard. And so, no, I'm not a fire Tomlin guy either. And I've always said that, unless someone does want to offer a king's ransom via trade or Mike Tomlin wants to be done, the Steelers are going to stick with him. And he just signed that 3-year contract extension. So 2 more years there. I honestly think that, yes, I see a new coach being a refresh, if you want to put it that way. I just don't see that happening anytime soon. Chris G, he contributes to SteelCurtainNetwork.com. He says, what's up, Jeff? Who has more pressure to win Saturday, Tomlin or Harbaugh? That's a great question. I would say that it's Tomlin. Harbaugh has a better roster. Harbaugh's won more recently. I mean, they were in the AFC Championship game last year. So that could bring pressure. Because if they lose in the wild card round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had lost 4 in a row, that would not look good. And I know there's a lot of people in Baltimore and in Maryland that want Harbaugh gone, like some Steeler fans want Tomlin gone. But I got to think that it's Tomlin. And when he talks openly about carrying the baggage of not winning a playoff game, he feels it. All right, let's go to Believers, the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. Percent chance you give the Steelers to beat the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday. Here are the options: 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100%. I give 50 to 75 as my vote because I think that the Steelers, again, a lot of people wanted Houston. I think that could have been a situation where you be careful what you want, what you ask for. The Steelers had an opportunity to control their own destiny, but sometimes I feel like playing the team that you know the best it doesn't make it easier, but it does help with preparation. So I think they have a puncher's chance here. And if you know what a puncher's chance means, it's a boxing term for you can throw some haymakers and it only takes, you only got to connect one time and then they're out of there. And so I think that could happen. Weird stuff happens in these games. I've talked about this on so many podcasts. All those things that typically happen for the Steelers happened for the Ravens last game. Maybe the ball bounces their way this time. Plain and simple. Maddie says, howdy from Atlanta, Jeff. Last time the Steelers played Baltimore, didn't have some key players. Those players are all healthy now. Do you see it playing out differently with these guys back, JPJ, Elliott, etc., regardless of how the defense has looked lately? Somehow I find myself holding out all the faith in the world, regardless of the losing streak. One last question. Am I crazy? Here we go. And God bless. And I think that the fact that, when the last time they played, they were without some of those key players. And I think it'll help. And Joey Porter Jr. did play in that game. I think that was a game he got hurt because he missed the Chiefs game on Christmas. But they were without him for some time. You're right. I think that that's going to matter, especially if Zay Flowers doesn't play. Then it really matters because they don't have like a super deep wide receiver room. But I don't blame you for holding out hope. I mean, what else do we have? I mean, if we have hope, we don't have hope. We have nothing. I'm going to watch the game on Saturday. I'm going to hope. I'm going to root. I'm going to cheer for the team. I'm going to want them to succeed. Do I think they will? Maybe. I can talk myself into anything, by the way. But no, you're not crazy. Here we go, for sure. RJ McCollum says, okay, hear me out. If the NFL is rigged, If the NFL is rigged, you got to admit they know what they're doing, making the Ratbirds versus Steelers for the third time when there's Hard Knocks. I'm just saying. Now, just so we know, Hard Knocks ends at the end of the regular season. And I have not watched the last 2 episodes. I have no interest in reliving the crap storm that has been the Steelers' finish to the season. Not interested at all. But I understand what you're saying. He said also Jerome Bettis Jr. should enter the 2026 draft. How crazy would it be to draft him in Pittsburgh? It would be crazy. There would be a lot of people that would say, especially if Mike Tomlin's still around, here we go. He's another legacy player, another player that his dad played for the team, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, it's also crazy that Jerome Bettis' son is going to be entering the draft. It makes me feel really old. All right, Eric asks or says, Jeff, love the show. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. He said, my question is, how long would you keep Mike Tomlin if the trend continues to be the same, meaning 9-8, 10-7 seasons with no playoff wins? If I'm the one that's in charge, I'm no. I can't say what I would do, but I will say that I think the Steelers, what they will do is they'll let him play out his contract. And then at the end of that, they might say, hey, Mike, it's time for you to move on with your life's work. I don't know. Jay, I think it's Shabluski. I might have mispronounced that. I'm sorry. He asked, could it be possible the team is sandbagging the last 4 weeks and are ready to surprise us all starting Saturday? Should get a laugh at least. Jay, I hope you're right, man. I really do. I hope that they have been, they've hoodwinked us all. I hope that if they come out on Saturday and they blow the doors off the Ravens and they're doing stuff that we have never seen them do this season and it's working and they're taking the ball away and they're scoring touchdowns, I will love it. I would absolutely freaking love it. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. In terms of them hoodwinking all of us. Let's go to Ed Holinsky. In lieu of the recent offensive woes, will Russell Wilson be on a short leash to get the hook if need be? That's a great question. I just don't think that when Mike Tomlin made the commitment to leave the 4-2 Justin Fields-led Steelers behind and go to the Russell Wilson-led Steelers, I think that what he did was, barring an injury, he said, we cannot go back. We cannot go back. And so, because if he goes back, then it's done. Now, if let's say Russell Wilson's on a short leash and all of a sudden the Steelers say, hey, Russ, what's that you said? Your hamstring hurts? Oh, no, it's your groin. I'm sorry. We need you in the blue tent. I'm fine, coach. Get your ass in the blue tent. And next, the PR department saying that Russell Wilson has a groin injury. Justin Fields is now in the game. I don't know. I have no idea. Ant Smith says, I just want to give a bold prediction of what I think will happen Saturday. I think Tomlin will give Russ 1 quarter or at least 3 drives. If Russ doesn't get the offense to a quick start in 1 quarter or 3 drives, I can see him being benched for Fields. Remember, this is my bold prediction. You're right. That is a bold prediction. I don't think that will happen barring an injury. I don't think that'll happen. But hey, that's your bold prediction. Let's go to Annie. He says, hi, Jeff. Hope you and your family had a wonderful holiday season. Same to you, Annie. I appreciate that. She says, I have 2 questions. 1, do you think it's realistic for the Steelers to get rid of Meyer? Munchak is available. She's talking about Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. I think it is realistic. If you're going to cut ties with the coach, he's probably not making a ridiculously, ludicrous contract in terms of how much he gets paid. If they have to cut ties with him, I can see it happening. Number 2, which offseason acquisition is most deserving of a new contract from the Steelers? Well, some of these players are in for a 2-year deal, like Deshaun Elliott's not going anywhere. Patrick Queen's not going anywhere. If you're talking about the 1-year players, I'd love to see, if you're looking for a quarterback 3, I do like Kyle Allen. I don't know what they're going to do with the other quarterbacks, but I would say that, it just depends on who you talk to. Some will say Russell Wilson. Actually, I don't know many people that would say that now. Some would say Justin Fields is deserving of a new contract. I don't think Van Jefferson is really deserving. And these were of the players that you deemed as offseason acquisitions. So that's kind of why I'm sticking in that realm. Let's go to Brandon Diaz. He said, I'm going to refrain from many questions until after the season, but here's the first one. Who gives the Steelers the better chance to win, Russ or Fields? At this point, it's Russ. It has to be Russ. Next question. Who's public enemy number 1 from the Steelers? It's Mike Tomlin. Right now, okay, player. If it's a player, it's George Pickens. He's public enemy number 1. Coach, that's easy. Third, what players could you see request a trade out of Pittsburgh? Request a trade? I could see George Pickens saying he wants out. And I think the Steelers would oblige if he does say that. As it stands right now, what coaches are back next season? I don't know which coaches are under contract. Like the Steelers do this by contract. They don't do this by performance typically. They'll sit on a coach, even though he might not be doing the best job, because they don't want to pay someone to not do their job. So that's tough. It's tough to say. Let's go to Maury Boogie. He says, love the show, Jeff. Now that we have seen both quarterbacks play, and I really don't care who Tomlin plays against the Yardbirds, in my opinion, we should let Russ go after the season and sign Justin Fields to a contract. What's your opinion? I'd be okay with it. I would be okay if that was what the Steelers wanted to do. I would be curious what the contract looked like. If they said, we want to sign him to a 2-year deal, it's going to pay him, I don't know, maybe $20 million ballpark. I think that's fair because he hasn't done anything that would honor like a $40 million a year deal. And it would be kind of like a prove it contract. But he has to be the guy though. Like if you want to bring back Justin Fields, you re-sign Kyle Allen. Okay, Justin Fields is the guy. There's no question about who's the quarterback. That's what they need to do with any of these guys. Get us out of, if you're going to try and get out of purgatory, you got to find someone you're going to plant your flag and say, this is the guy. I don't know if they think that's Fields or not. Let's go to James. He said, Jeff, is your source still involved with SCN? He is. He said, I feel it's been a while since we've heard any sourced information. If you go back, typically our sourced information does not come in season. Our sourced information is typically in the off season. It's definitely gearing up around the start of the new league year, around the draft, even leading up to training camp. Like that's when we get most of our sourced information. So if you go back and search some of our old podcasts, our source podcasts, a lot of it, not very many things come during the season. You got to remember, we're given information from inside the facility. They're not going to give away a lot of stuff in season, if that makes sense. Just keep that in the back of your mind. All right. Jackson says, hey, Jeff, when the season comes to an end, hopefully in a month instead of Saturday night, what bold move would you make? That isn't trading George Pickens to improve the team for next season. For me, what bold move would I make is I would listen to offers for key players. So let's say, and Omar Khan puts out there like, hey, like if anyone wants a safety, like I'm willing to hear offers for Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm not going that way with TJ Watt just yet, but still, if people are interested, we're taking calls. That would be a bold move. And then what is the biggest need the Steelers need to address in the draft later this year? Man, let's get through this season first. We will have a lot of time to talk about draft needs and getting you all ready for the 2025 draft. Chase Wilkinson says, Ride or Die Crew, if the Steelers win Saturday in Baltimore, does it excuse the last month of inept play for you? It doesn't. It doesn't excuse it, but it lessens it. Let's say the Steelers would have beaten the Bengals and it was a walk-off field goal, 20-19. You're still not feeling great about it, And so let's say that that's how you go into the playoffs and you get yourself a game in Houston. So you go down to Houston and you beat a subpar Houston Texans team. A lot of fans are going to say, this is bogus. These guys still aren't any good. But if you have the 4-game losing streak that they're on right now and you go into Baltimore and you beat the Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium in the wild card round, that's a different story. That can change some narratives. So let's keep that in mind as well. Ed Cunningham. He said, hello, Jeff. Great podcast on Monday. Very detailed analysis. Thank you. He said, I have a thought for the fan base. So he actually sends a little image here. Here's what he writes. My grandfather was a Steeler, an actual Steeler, 40 years at the First Sterling Steel Mill of McKeesport, Pennsylvania. He once had to fight a coworker on the street in front of the mill in order to win the highest paying job there, which was holding scrap steel in place with giant tongs while the 8-ton hammer came flying down, flattening it into sheets. He was stone deaf and had no hair on his body after 40 years in the mill. This is what a Steeler is. And an 8-ton hammer is what we're going to give Chad Lamar Jackson. It is how we will win. TJ Watt knows this, and no one plays him better than us. I'm sick of everyone being so obsessed with losing the last 4 games. Playoffs means it's a new season, and dang it, I'm going to enjoy the game, and I'm expecting a victory, same as always. My question is, do you think to some extent Steeler fans are spoiled? Lions, Bills, Browns, these fans have a right to be mad, but Steeler fans have 6 Super Bowls. Perhaps the football gods are punishing us for acting like it shouldn't be so hard to win a playoff game. Suck it up, Steeler Nation. We're not that many pieces away from having another chance at the Lombardi Trophy. Enjoy this team despite their missteps. Hold on tight to the scrap steel. They're due for a win. I like that, Ed. I like that. A big shout out to your grandfather, who was an original Steeler, a steel man, like man in steel, working in the steel industry. Hey, always have faith, always have hope. Without that, we have nothing. And let's finish this up as we always do with Steeler Fan 69 with some dad jokes. Here we go. Hello, my friends. Steelers Nation is going to need some. Here we go. Don't kiss your wife with a runny nose. You might think it's funny, but it's not. How do you find Will Smith in the snow? You look for the Fresh Prince. Very nice. And then what would Batman do if he wasn't rich? He would be Robin. I love those. Those are great. Very good way to end this segment. On Friday, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might call up the Caw guys and have them on. I'm not sure if I want to do that. I might have another guest. We're always going to have Jeremy Jerome Betts on, but you'll have to tune in on Friday. I'm hoping to have a special show. I just got to figure it out. But you got to stay tuned. SteelCurtainNetwork.com, Steel Curtain Network, all that fun stuff. Be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, you know how we finish this up as always. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.